cost us a lot of money by making the collection, and then it cannot be sold and cannot be shown.
So all in all, it's pretty bleak, although there are rays of hope that we can kind of talk about. But on a macro scale, you would say, yeah, I mean, it's nothing within my 20 years of the industry that we've had to deal with before. We've had recessions, but nothing quite like this, a kind of a shutdown.
So much, so how to maintain the brand image, how to maintain our presence, how to maintain the creativity still there.
Potentially a lot of these small and medium enterprises lack the digital skills or the English language skills to market those and to reach a bigger market.
But now the current global situation is really creating anxiety. It's anxiety how long they can last, how far they can run, and all the other questions for their label to thrive. Good afternoon, fashion lovers. With the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the creative industry, especially fashion, has become one of the most affected. Today, I will discuss the current issues and the future possibilities for the industry with British Council, a valuable partner for Jakarta Fashion Week. We have been together since Jakarta Fashion Week Series 0. That was before Jakarta Fashion Week, and it was called Indonesia Fashion Festival. And together, we brought the international young creative entrepreneur into Indonesia. That was their first year for Indonesia, and that was the first time that we are together in it for the development of the creative industry, specifically fashion in Indonesia. And of course, it was with the encouragement and support from the British Council that Indonesia Fashion Forward, moving forward and advancing the Indonesia fashion. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Colm, the Interim Country Director, Deputy Director of British Council. And then we also have Toby Meadows on board, fashion business consultant from the Center for Fashion Enterprise London, and writer of How to Set Up and Run a Fashion Label, that we have also translated the book in the past into Bahasa Indonesia. Toby has been a dear friend for Jakarta Fashion Week, mentoring generations after generations of Indonesia Fashion Forward. We also have Rahmat, Ramadan, Business Development Head of Etu, or that you know the person behind Etu is Restu Anggraini. With us also Lydia Hartanto, the co-founder, managing director of Peggy Hartanto label. Both labels are the esteemed member of the third generation of Indonesia Fashion Forward, introduced in 2014. So, Rahmat and Toby, can you share how is the home situation so far for you?
Okay. So basically, our production has been halted since February when our fabric supplier and factory was running out of materials. The situation is not really good, but we have managed some action plans to minimize the impact, such as by allowing our sewing worker to bring the machine at homes, shifting production to fast-moving products like scarf or basic clothing. And so far, we also had canceled 3 fall-winter fashion shows in Korea, Indonesia Fashion Week, and Indonesia Modest Fashion Week, which obviously had cost us a lot of money by making the collection, and then it cannot be sold and cannot be shown. Personally, the worst impact is basically the cancellation of our 8th festival collection due to the raw material shortage. So I think not only me, because many brands and businesses are experiencing the same thing. And in my opinions, it will take a lot of effort to get through this pandemic.
Thanks, Rahmat. Indeed, it is a devastated situation that we don't see it. We can't see it. And Toby, how is the London situation and the fashion market?
Yeah, pretty dire, to be honest. I think the same as kind of the world over, that I think there are businesses in different stages of shock. Some that there was an immediate shock and suddenly, 1 month without sales has meant that they are incredibly vulnerable and on the verge of kind of disappearing. Others who have kind of more cash heavy businesses, money sitting in the businesses, who are able maybe to kind of ride out a period of 2 or 3 months of lower sales, but who are now starting to think, if this isn't going away, and if we're going to open up and then close again and open and close, how do we actually manage a business over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 potential years? But it does really depend on almost the state of the business going into the COVID situation. So a big retailer like Debenhams has just released 1,000 employees, head office employees. And what's really interesting about that is typically we see the retail staff being the first to kind of maybe let go. But we're talking about garment techs, designers, the buying departments. We're talking like the key job roles to actually keep this business functioning, being released, 1,000 of them. Having said that, Debenhams wasn't in the best state moving into COVID. And so COVID has kind of just sped up the process for a lot of these businesses that were struggling maybe in the current environment here in the UK. We've got some smaller labels who are struggling because they're wholesale driven. And we've got cancellations coming from retailers who are just unable to take those orders because they have existing stock and they're not fulfilling those orders. But I think the thing that will come out from this conversation is that it's all the way through the supply chain, from the retail staff being let go to the head office staff, and all the way through to possibly the worst affected, which is the garment manufacturers around the world, who are often forgotten about by the bigger brands. They're like an afterthought, and we're seeing some massive knock-on effects around the world with the manufacturing side. So all in all, it's pretty bleak, although there are rays of hope that we can kind of talk about. But on a macro scale, you would say, yeah, I mean, it's nothing within my 20 years of the industry that we've had to deal with before. We've had recessions, but nothing quite like this, a kind of a shutdown.
Yeah, indeed. Some of us may have read also the report, The Business of Fashion 2020, the word of dire, how dire the situation for the fashion industry. And actually to look at it is how actually the digital, that growth, I think if I remember, is like 700%. The digital adaptation is really speeding up, where annually digital adaptation is not even triple digit, it's just double digit adaptation. And now it is like 7 times. So this is a question to Lydia. What is the most apparent impact so far, especially in your area, in the fashion and marketing your collection to Indonesia or to the regional or even to the world?
For us, so besides tourism industry, I think fashion, creative industry is one of the field that get the biggest impact out of this pandemic. Yeah, for us, so it kind of started around March after we came back from Paris to show our collection. So we met buyers there, but not long after we got emails from them asking for extended payments, asking for canceling orders. So yeah. The impact from the wholesale is pretty huge for us for the upcoming autumn-winter 20. But so we're now we're quite lucky because we still have the order from the previous season production retailers that the area didn't get the impacted so much. They do some reorders. But for us, me and Peggy and Patty, looking at this and the projection of COVID-19, we didn't think this would be over very soon. That's why we make some project planning, like how to overcome this without impacting so much into our business, such as, so first, we are prioritizing on our workers, like we want them to be safe, healthy, so we want everything. So and then we think about like how to make a good cash flow that can last until the year. And the third, we want to make sure that the brand is not affected so much. So how to maintain the brand image, how to maintain our presence, how to maintain the creativity still there, and that we prepare some pivoting on the business, like it's still within the core of the business, but it's more embracing the new normal situation.
Yeah, thank you. And for maybe this question goes to Colm, as following that question of the impact in the creative industry. From your seat, maybe you have even a wider view of creative industry in general. So what is really your observation of looking at this creative industry in Indonesia and the impact so far? Colm?
Thanks very much. I think there's, obviously I can see across the creative industries, it's an extremely challenging time, you know, in every country. You know, artists, filmmakers, fashion designers have all been very deeply affected by, you know, the fact that everybody is now stuck at home. So people are no longer at the moment able to go to the cinemas, able to go to the theaters, are able to go shopping and buy clothes, are able to go to concerts and enjoy music festivals. So whilst I know that there's been a driver towards a digital strategy in many of these industries, this kind of COVID-19 situation has forced, it's kind of turbocharged that kind of strategy. And I think in a sort of, from a positive sense, there's been some interesting innovations that I've seen both in the UK and Indonesia. I've attended some theatre events. Some of the things have gone online and have been free, which has given greater access to people to enjoy kind of cultural activities like music and film and dance, which is a really positive thing. So, for example, in the UK, a number of our greatest theatre companies have been putting their plays online globally, so people at home can enjoy them. But obviously, that's not, and they've been asking people to donate money, relying on the goodwill of citizens to support the industry. But that's great for the public, but that's not necessarily great for the industry or the sector. So we need to find ways in which you can start to make money. And so now increasingly I've seen, I've also started to attend paid for digital events. So for example, a theatre event I attended, it had the same number of participants as there would have been in the theatre, and it was only live for a specific time. And so it felt like a communal event, even though we were all at home enjoying it at the same time. And I think in terms of fashion, I just could comment a little bit on that. In Indonesia, I've been in Indonesia many years, and I've seen the fantastic innovations in terms of design of Muslim fashion and different types of clothing that appeal to an international audience or a market. But one of the things that I've also noticed is that potentially a lot of these small and medium enterprises lack the digital skills or the English language skills to market those and to reach a bigger market. And I think there's a real recognition now that you know, in order to reach your customers, you need to have a digital presence and you need to have good communication skills, you know, part of your branding, in order to keep selling your products. And I think there's great examples of that from existing big well-known Indonesian brands down to small tailors and individuals in Bali and in other places. So I think there's optimism too.
Indeed. Well, Yes, it is interesting to bring up that the digital bridge that is really bridging the current situation to the market, to the audience, and how it's actually empowering to grow for the larger audience or the larger market. So with that, maybe this is a discussion that fashion, although of course having that, it is the basic staple need, but actually now in the COVID, it become the tertiary need. The same goes for art, and the same, but then as Colm mentioned, it started to evolve and finding the breakthrough of how art, like Andrew Lloyd Webber, opening every access and bringing out all the opera, all the musical shows, and that sort of like bring back all the memories and actually teaching the younger generation about Andrew Lloyd Webber to the global wider audience that would have never thought of. So it does though for the big corporations that have deep cushion, but now the current global situation is really creating anxiety. It's anxiety how long they can last, how far they can run, and all the other question for their label to thrive. So, Toby, what do you think the changes of this in the industry and the consumer behavior for the brand to thrive?
Yeah, I think there's lots. I think what's already been echoed is the fact that really that state of fashion, McKinsey Business of Fashion report you talked about coming out last year, and also the update in April with the COVID-19 kind of update to it. Basically, it's really just showing what we've known in the industry for a long time. I mean, I think 15 years ago was giving a lecture about what 2030 might look like as a landscape for fashion. Back then, be online, and that includes all digital formats through social selling and all those things that hadn't even been invented basically 15 years ago. The second one is off price. So we're looking at discount, and we know massively we are going into a 12-month window of discounting. You know, the amount of stock sitting on shelves in department stores and big retailers is insane. And there are, you know, for those retailers that have honored their new deliveries, their productions, there's a whole new load of product coming in. We know certain retailers like Primark have cancelled orders and left manufacturers, you know, around the world in real difficulties. Others have honored their orders and kind of saying we're going to take it. But either way, there's going to be a massive discount kind of flooding that we haven't seen really since 2008 and the recession that led to a massive boom in off-price retailing back then. The third thing we would probably start to diminish as people are servicing more through online platforms and keeping their stock in warehouses, that actually there wouldn't be the need for quite so many physical stores. And so rather than having 200 stores, you might find that actually those bigger multi-store retailers have a much smaller number of retail experiential stores, which are really more of a showroom experience rather than actually about just location and buying. And if I look at those three things that we were predicting for 2030, and I look at some of the people I've been talking to in the last couple of weeks here in the UK, one of which that is shutting 5 of its 6 stores literally next week, you're just seeing a speed up of what potentially was the blue sky thinking from 15 years ago. I think for some of us in the industry, it's been a bit of a shock that we've been so slow to move because we've kind of known where we're going. But when you have big companies whose shareholders see a cash cow and they want growth, sometimes it's hard to kind of say, well, look, what's best for us is shrinking our portfolio of stores in favor of kind of digital. So if we look at that, there's definitely a speed up of that side. But again, if I come back to those brands that have done well over the last 3-4 months. And I've got some startup brands I'm working with who are 40% up on sales from the previous year. So it's not doom and gloom for everybody. And in fact, Colm, this comes back to what you mentioned just before we come on here, the idea of slob fashion. You know, if you are someone who's been focusing on athleisure and comfy clothing and kind of loungewear, then this is your moment to be kind of, you know, seeing rise. But if you're all about ball gowns and fancy frocks and, you know, cocktails, then yeah, it's a really challenging environment to go with. But so we're seeing certain brands that this is going to be the making of them, small businesses who are growing. But we're also seeing that actually the businesses who are going to ride through this, and this bodes very well for a lot of the businesses I've worked with in Jakarta through Fashion Forward and Jakarta Fashion Week, is flexibility. Having flexible supply chains, being able to manage your stock levels and, you know, not too high, have quick lead times so that you can do small quantities this month and larger next month, and then react to what's happening on the market, which, let's face it, is basically the Zara fast fashion model, you know, created in the 70s, or just-in-time manufacturing. These are the businesses that are best suited to ride this wave of insecurity, kind of, you know, fragility on what's going to happen. Those that are working still on traditional 6-month lead times and having to predict on stock levels this time next year already, I mean, you honestly, you might as well go to a casino and put your money on red or black, because I think you've got a better chance of seeing a return on your investment, because we just don't know. So what's interesting about the brands through Fashion Forward, quite often they're working close to home, right? Even within Jakarta kind of boundaries, or within, you know, Indonesia itself. And they have 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 6-week lead times on certain things. And that gives them a sense of flexibility that a lot of international brands maybe don't have. So it's negative, but actually out of that negativity, as Colm says, you can see that actually, especially in Indonesia, there is a positioning of the brands there that maybe is better suited to the world that we are about to enter into, rather than some of the establishment.
Fantastic. Thanks for the answer. Indeed, it is the flexibility, being nimble, and I think a lot of the Indonesian labels, especially the IFF alumni, I'm seeing that that is key to survive at this time. And that would lead the question to Lydia. How about this from your point of view, from where you are? How do you anticipate, I mean, I can imagine it is changing every month. Your anticipation needs to be adjusted every month. How do you manage this? And what about what we have been touching on and on is about the production chain. And how do you persevere in this pandemic? So maybe this first question goes to Lydia, and then to Rahmat.
Okay, so yeah, I would like to highlight the flexibility there that Toby mentioned. And indeed, that is the strength that we have as an Indonesian label that has our production like very close to us. And I think also, and because that model is what we implemented actually since the first time we launched, that is we have more control on that. And for us, so I think digital is really the key here. Since we have since Indonesia is known as the avid user of social media, especially Instagram, we are using this platform now more on that, like more than ever. And for us, it's for the manufacturer, we work closely. We have garment manufacturer outside our in-house manufacturer. So we also work closely with them. We keep a good relationship. We are in close contact. We are updating them on our each planning. So the communication here is not like so it's not disconnected. So the relationship is being kept, as well as with our retailers here. Well, some of them already, as I mentioned before, like emailing me asking like extended payment, canceling orders. But then we are trying to, as the situation now is getting better, and it's, I think, everywhere in the world, we're emailing them again, like we're contacting them again, building the relationship, keeping the relationship, and I think that's what can make this business lasting for a longer time. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Rahmat?
Well, before going to talk about how we cope with the situation and how our customers and manufacturing or our partners impact on their behavior, I want to share our presentation about how this pandemic really affect us greatly. Basically, what COVID has done to our brands is it's actually to all brands. From the industry point of view, I think the worst happened during this pandemic is the broken supply chain. The first one, our fabric supplier cannot fulfill order. We actually has ordered materials since January, but since Indonesian polyesters and then yarns and other man-made products are made by China, so they cannot get the raw materials because the pandemic start in China since December. So all are postponed, and then we cannot get our raw materials. So February, March, our order was delayed to end of March. And then we got a lot of complaint, angry customers. They want refund, they want service recovery. So we have to spend another cost to give them service recovery, like brooch, like scarf, and etc. And then we also have to make 2 different shipments in order to giving them the first shipment, and then the remaining postponed raw materials will be delivered after the pandemic has, after the supply chain has recovered. So we also, getting double logistic and delivery expenses during the pandemic. And then the worst is our sales plumped by 60%. So since March, April, and May, this is the worst season we ever experienced. All stores were closed. We have stores in FX Sudirman, and then MRT station also closed. And then actually we have a planning to open 2 franchise stores in Padang and Riau. Padang luckily have opened in January, and then after that closing in March. In Riau finally canceled. And also our facility in Jakarta, Indonesian Center, also closed. And the local government in our production facility in Central Java also demand us to close our facility. So in this year at festival, which is the peak season of modest wear, we have to cancel all the collection, and then we are just selling the remaining stock, which is only give us 2 months operational costs. And then before, I also told you that we also canceled 3 fashion shows in Korea and in Jakarta, 2 fashion shows. But how we cope with this situation, this is actually an interesting experience that we have done. So we, during March to June, we offer more functional and innovative products. So we are not producing the more fashionable collection, but we offer more functional, like tight shirt and also the bio silk. We make shirt that is water repellent with a oil repellent and salt repellent features. So people, we also apply this to our scarf. So people now not buying the more expensive pieces of our collection, they buy less than $30 of our collection. So we adjust the production and then we offer them more features, and then seasonless collection that can be wear during the stay or the work at home. And we also make product diversification. So in our production facility in Central Java, there is some artisan that can make metal accessories. So we also offer metal accessories, which is not involve so many human labors. They only need 2 or 3 artisans, and then the machine will do the production. And we focus to B2B clients. Luckily, after we launched our metal accessories, we got orders around $100,000. So it's enough for us to operate our company in 2 months, in March and April. And then we also switching to local fabric suppliers. So if I think every Indonesian knows, Svida also maybe heard that new company in Riau, Sumatra, opening the largest certified viscose rayon company. So we're switching from imported goods trading company into a local sourcing products. And also, this is a very interesting experience that we have experienced during the pandemic. So we actually making health masks with our partner, and then we give it the feature of antibacterials and water repellent features. So it can, you know, what do we call? It's prevent the droplets of people coughing or sneeze. So it can save for the people who wear it. And then we donate it to MRT employees. And then after we donate to MRT employees, last month we got, free new stores in Bintaro. Instead of buying $5,000 a year, we only have to pay $500 for the rentals. So because I donate, because MRT has a concept of what do we call the transit oriented development. So they have a lot of place which is have a retail places, and then a transportation that is strategic for people wants to go to office and etc. And they work with the property owners in Bintaro and then in Serpong, and they offer us deep discount 90% a year of free new store for us in Bintaro. So that's what we experienced during the pandemic. But from our personal view, I think consumer demand for fashions for the next months, it will be stagnant and falling. I think consumers have lost so much income that even if they wanted to go back to shopping, they would not be able to, because they tend to be buying clothing in more sustainable manners. They want to buying less. They want to save, and then I think they want to buying fashion responsibly. So we have to adjust from the more fashionable products into more functional products.
I think a lot of the audience would feel and would feel alike and would learn from you for this very really about being persevered in this pandemic.
We're very conscious and very aware that an online digital approach to work and to education and our programs is not necessarily fully inclusive, but digital skills and English language skills are going to be key to accessing those opportunities.
Sustainability fashion, we're not only talking about the environment aspect of the matter. So in our point of view, sustainability fashion has to consider 3 main aspects. The first one is the social aspect, the environment aspect, and the business aspect.
We just got to come back and ask the question, what is the point of a fashion week? It's where it's going to become really tricky, because we need to see almost what is left in 6 months' time. What's independent small stores around the world are still trading? How many small labels are still looking to actually come to Paris, Milan, New York, London to actually show their product?
Preparing all materials for digital. just in case we cannot see the buyer in person,